Hi, I'm Barbara Bazron, the Deputy Secretary of Maryland's Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, Behavioral Health Administration.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Gray, Director of Interfaith Outreach for the Governor's Office of Community Initiatives.
As I'm sure you've seen in the paper, heroin addiction has become a national epidemic. In Maryland, we are not immune from the problem. Sadly, heroin addiction has become pervasive with victims that span all races, religions, and economic classes. It has taken a toll on individual citizens, their families, and communities. It isn't just an inner city issue. It's everywhere. Right now, someone you would never suspect is grappling with a heroin addiction. Heroin isn't just some sort of recreational drug. It is a powerful narcotic that can wreck lives and in many instances result in death. As Carter G. Woodson said, if you can change a person's thinking, behavior will follow. The first step in addressing this issue is education and awareness. Let's work together to eradicate this disease in our community.
One of the state's greatest forces for good and community change can be found in our many churches, synagogues, and mosques. Once mobilized, the good people of our religious organizations can help greatly in eradicating heroin epidemic Barbara spoke about. In the upcoming public service announcement, you'll see how heroin can forever change and even end the lives of those it ensnarls. But as our faith teaches us, there is always hope. You'll see the damage heroin can do, but you will also see that with your help, lives can be saved. Watch the video carefully, then talk to your spouse, your children, your grandchildren, anyone you think might be in need. With your help, we can fight back. And the little time it takes to spread the word just might save someone's life.
Please join us and watch the video.
He was a great football player. He went into the service and he married this wonderful girl that he was in love with. And then she broke his heart.
I had my daughter November 17th of 2000, and on a scale of 1 to 15, she was an 11, born addicted to heroin.
I sort of put it in denial in the beginning, because like I said, I didn't want to believe that heroin was taking him that. Then I seen what it was, he wasn't keeping jobs.
I just got high every single day. It was just it was just wake up, go get high, go back to the house, not out, find more money, go uptown, get high, and that's all you do.
Adrian had the best heart in the whole family, but we noticed the drug thing in his, I guess around the 10th grade in high school. It was, of course it started off with pot. And it was always pot, I thought, until he went to service, and when he came home, I think he graduated to heroin.
And literally, I hadn't even drank my first beer, I hadn't taken a shot of anything, I hadn't smoked marijuana, I hadn't done nothing that teenage kids experiment with. Heroin was the first thing I did. I went to a bull and oyster roast with my father for his job, and I met a guy there. My father knew his mother, and nobody knew he was already a full-blown heroin addict. He was 21. I was 15.
It's hard. It's not easy because you don't want to You don't want to admit that this might actually be happening in your own home where you know it should not be, where you have done everything in your power to make sure that these kids have great lives, and then it happens.
In fact, Renee probably seen it prior to myself, because she digs deep, goes in the drawers and listen to the phone calls.
Yes,
and,
I do.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, she's very in tune with everything that's going on.
I don't know. My parents had gotten word that my boyfriend was using heroin, and they had asked me about it, if I knew and if I was using with them. And by this time, I was already in full-blown addiction. And I had said, no, I didn't know he was doing it, and no, I wasn't doing it. You know, just lied. And they told me I wasn't allowed to see him anymore. And this time, I'm 16, he's 22. I was living under my parents' rules. I was still in high school. And they told me he wasn't allowed at my house, and I wasn't allowed there, and they tried to keep me in the house, and I ran away.
And finally, what brought it to her head was, he called me one day. He was up in the city, he had a flat tire, no money to get a tire for his car. But when I got in the city, I mean, he was in bad shape. So I bought him the tire. It was a used tire place around the corner. Bought him a tire, left him with it, putting it on his car. Said, after you get the tire on your car, you come to the house, and Renee and I want to talk with you. So I don't think he came that night.
No, I think he came the next time.
The next night he did come, and when he came in, I said, AJ, you know, and I think I broke down crying, you know, because I just seen how these drugs were just tearing him up. I said, here's the deal. I said, you can come home and come back home, live with me, but I'm taking the tags off your truck. You don't go out. I detoxed him right in the house. I didn't go to a clinic or anything. I dried him out right there. Every time I move, you're gonna move. And so I did took his tags off, turned them in, parked his van out back, and
actually that was really a great time
Yeah.
for us, because in the morning time I would come downstairs and I cannot play the guitar at all, but I can sing. And I would sing good morning songs to him, and I'd sing them to the girls, and I'd sing, and he'd be like, oh. So how can you not, you know, I wanted to make it pleasant for him. And then he said to me one day, he said, I forgot what it's like to be at home. So I knew that he appreciated it, you know.
and before, in the beginning, he kicked a little bit about not being able to go out with his friends. But he didn't kick real hard, you know what I mean? Because he knew we were serious, because when he was out there, you know, drugging, he had gotten stabbed, he had gotten beat up a couple of times. A lot of bad things. I mean, where he could have just been gone.
A friend of mine, we got high together for a long time. We walked the same streets, we got in the same cars, we did the same drugs. She was picked up, raped, set on fire, and left behind a bar in Brooklyn. They don't know who did it, and no one even cares. No one even knew she died, because she was just a prostitute and a drug addict from Brooklyn. My stepkids, I left them in the house with my first son while I went and copped heroin, and they were 1, 3, and 5. I left them in the house, and I went and copped heroin. I overdosed, and they rushed me to the hospital, and there was 3 kids home alone. 3 kids. Luckily, my mother-in-law came over the house because she had my daughter, and she had gotten the kids, but that was the end of my marriage pretty much. So I moved back home, and I was just in full-blown addiction for years. And once you're in the system, it's so hard to get out, and it's so easy to violate. And I kept going back and going back and going back, 27 months. 27 months I did. I lost my kids. September 22nd of 2006, I left my parents' house to go get high, and I never went back. And I left my kids with my mother. And she works. She couldn't keep them. She called my ex-husband. He took them. I was served court papers in jail because obviously my little run led me to getting locked up. And I got served my court papers in jail saying I lost my kids. And I just didn't care because I knew I was getting out. And I knew what I was going to do, and I did it. I just ran them streets, and anything under the sun I did.
So he got back in school. He was in college and going to community college. Doing I mean, fantastic, fantastic. Completely clean, and when he relapsed into the drug thing, I had no clue, none whatsoever, zip. So he said he had to go by to college and pick up his books, pick up, you know, because it was the end. It was the end of the year, so he was going by and pick up his stuff out of college, and so he didn't come home that night. So it didn't bother me at all. I mean, I knew he was straight now. It was Thursday, I didn't hear from him. Friday, I didn't hear from him. Saturday, I didn't hear from him. Sunday, I still hadn't heard from him. I had called all his friends. Nobody had seen him. Nobody knew anything. And finally, my niece called and said, "Melvin, have you checked the morgue?" And that was the last thing I would have. That hadn't even crossed my mind, but I said I hadn't, so I called the morgue, and they said, "Well, give me a description of your son," and I did. You know, because like Renee said, he was he was one in a million. You know, if I described him, you could pick him out any crowd. You know, Adrian, but 6'3", 6'4", very muscular, dark complected. So he said, and I described the guy. I said, "Well, I have a person here fitting that description." He had been in the morgue since, like I said, that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. This is Monday as John Doe, and they said it was drugs in the car. It was drugs in the system, because that's what they said. They did an autopsy. But the police said they found him sitting behind the wheel in a parking lot, apartment complex parking lot, dead. And that's all we knew. But I never understood why he was there as a John Doe. He was in my car. In fact, they had his wallet, which still had his license in it. They had my car registration. You know, they had everything in the envelope. Why he was there as a John Doe, I don't have a clue to this day. And they could never really give me a good explanation. I mean, they gave me an explanation, but they never.
Now, he even had a cell phone.
Yeah, he even had his cell phone, but nobody had never contacted me. And like I said, the fact that he was still there as a John Doe, you know, if they had him there as Adrian Spears, you know, I would have been a little more understandable. But so that was the how his life ended.
I went to rehab 3 times, inpatient. I went to 4 outpatients, and I did it twice by myself, so 9 times. I wrote my dad a letter saying that I don't want nothing from you. I just need a place to go when I come home, because I don't want to go back to the streets and I don't want to get high anymore. And my dad had bought a house for me and my sister. And he gave me this house when I came home. And he said, this is your last chance. And he gave me this house and he said, you're going to work on this house every day. And you're going to fix it up. And in 15 years, if you're still clean, you can have it. But you're going to get a job, and you can use my truck to get back and forth to work. But you're not getting any money, and Mom's not going to give you any money. She'll buy you cigarettes, and she'll bring you food. And I don't want nobody at my house, and you're not going anywhere. And I said, fine. And 3 years later, I sit here in my house that started out with just walls. I was sleeping on a blow-up mattress. There was just sheetrock and a blow-up mattress and plywood on the floor. There's now 5 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. I have a boat. I have a Jeep. I have a car. I have a motorcycle. I got full custody of my kids back. My parents, I'm at their house every day. And now it's like people call me. And they call my dad to get a hold of me to ask for my help about their kids, you know? And I never thought it was possible for me to get clean. A prostitute from Brooklyn. And I got clean. I haven't drank. I don't smoke weed. I don't do any type of drug. Like, I have 3 kids. My kids are 16, 14, and 13. And my biggest fear is that one of them do what I did.
You know, God knows we are not in charge. Certainly we're not in charge. And my husband says he doesn't cry, but I do. Because I do miss him.